Considering home security? Consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. The yard sign isn't just a sign, it's a line in the sand. It's no wonder 5 times more people choose ADT to protect their homes. Visit ADT.com to learn more. For license information and terms and conditions, visit ADT.com.
So while you're processing, one of the other things you had brought up earlier with LeBron James and coming on 33 and 15 years in league and playing at an MVP level, and Tom Brady, 40 years old, playing at an MVP level, we had asked which is more impressive for this year of what's going on. Be getting great feedback.
Yeah, it's been good.
But I think Tom Brady has this over LeBron, because I haven't heard this being LeBron being used for this.
Okay.
This is a great story. Roxbury School Zone, elementary school, okay? There was a phys ed teacher named Sam Balto at Ellis Elementary School getting very frustrated at drivers speeding through the 20-mile-an-hour school zone.
Don't speed through a school zone.
I'm with you. Listen, I'm with you.
Yeah.
But they speed through the school zone, okay? And he was trying to figure out different ways to make people slow down, and nothing was working. So what did he do? He got laminated pictures of Tom Brady, and he stuck them on the crosswalk sign where the school zone crossing was. And he said it worked. He said people started slowing down to see who it was, and so it got them to slow down. And he said, if nothing else, it gets people to smile a little bit and maybe think more about what they're doing. But certainly in the beginning, it worked. People were slowing down and looking at a picture of Tom Brady. Right. To slow down in the school zone.
So is it just his face or is it full body?
Just his face.
Okay, because
it's a picture of his face.
See, that makes it more amazing. Because let's say you did the full body cutout and people are like, whoa, wait a minute, is that Tommy?
Is that Tom Brady?
Is that TB12? Whoa.
They should have had a cutout of him with a sign in his hand that said like yield or slow down.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
So, okay, to me that it's just his face makes it even more impressive.
It really is. Plus it's a little smaller so people are slowing down to see what the picture is as well.
Because
and then they see it's Tommy and they're like, okay.
Whoa, is that TB12 out there?
Yeah.
So I could get it if it was a full cutout. Like, hey, that might be Tom. But the fact that it's just his face, kudos to you.
Isn't that cool, though?
Kudos
to
you.
What a great idea.
Yeah.
The guy's trying to think of, because it is a bad thing, people. Don't be speeding through school zones.
Well,
one person was clocked at 56.
Yeah, that's insane.
Through a 20, that's crazy what you can do.
That's crazy.
So kudos to Sam for coming up with that idea. I have one more little story.
All right, hit me.
One more little story before we talk to Jared.
This is pseudo news of the weird here today.
This is one that I think just about everybody, I'm sure, listening or watching has flown on an airplane. And we've all come across different situations on an airplane. Well, there was a Delta flight from New York to Seattle, so that's a long one.
That's cross country.
They had to make a stop.
Okay.
In Billings, Montana.
Beautiful country out there.
So,
Big sky.
So you think, okay, hey, we've heard planes that, it's emergency. Is everybody okay? Something happened. Right. Nothing happened
Maybe
to anybody.
A medical emergency
no
on the
medical
plane.
emergency.
Okay.
Nothing like that. Didn't have to land for that. But they had to land. There wasn't a gate available. They had to taxi to a cargo area because they had to get on the ground because no gate was available. They had to get people off the plane. Reason being, the toilets weren't working. Too many people had to go to the bathroom.
And they couldn't hold it any longer.
It was from New York to Seattle. So they were trying to hold it, and it got too long to hold. So they had to land in Billings, Montana, pull into a cargo area because no gate was available. The grounds crew rolled a stairway to the airplane so passengers could disembark to find relief, as they said, of built-up pressures.
That's the best part of this.
How about that?
Delta described it so we could disembark to find relief of built-up pressures. That's a lot of pressure.
How about the captain on that one? Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be landing in Billings, Montana. Why? Too many of you have to go to the bathroom.
Well, have you ever been on a flight? This happened to me recently, where the captain got on the plane and said, "Folks, everything's good with the plane. We are good to go. It's a short flight,
right?
Hour, 45 minutes. The bathroom is not working. Now we can either wait for a new plane to get here, or we can just go and you guys can hold it. What do you want to say?" We were like,
let's go.
Let's go.
But this isn't
let's
short.
Go.
What
no.
See, from what I didn't, it said the toilet stopped working.
See,
so this wasn't on the ground in New York. Because what if you're told that?
Mid-flight adjustment.
What if you're told in New York you're on the ground, gang, it's going to be another hour or so to get this bathroom fixed? Or, now, I'm pretty sure they're not going to take off without a bathroom working on like a 4-hour flight. But
Right.
what if you were given the choice? Would you still say, I can hold it?
At my age, I couldn't answer that question.
I mean, yeah.
In my 20s, I'd be like,
It's
let's go.
Either that or pass out some buckets.
Yeah,
I mean, you know what I'm talking
the
about?
air sitting bag would have a new use.
Yeah.
You know?
Holy
and we
smokes.
need more of them. Yeah,
Man.
Cross country
How
would
about
be
that
difficult.
for a stop? I mean, sometimes you think you hear everything. This plane going to a cargo area and people loading off, running off the plane to go to the bathroom.
Again, this phrase sums it up best. So they could, quote, disembark to find relief of built-up pressures. How about they had to go? Wouldn't that be easier? Look, you got to go.
They had to go potty.
You got to go. All right, it's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. You did do that potty at the TB12 voice.
I don't know why.
We had no idea it was
mixed the two
from
stories.
New York to Seattle,
really
but I appreciated the cross-pollination.
Horrible thing to do.
Okay, listen, it is a couple of huge games in Week 14. Again, starting tonight. Big game in the NFC South, Saints and Falcons, but there's a huge one in L.A. The Eagles, having lost last Sunday night in Seattle, staying out west to take on the Rams in Los Angeles. And we had a chance to talk to Rams quarterback Jared Goff yesterday on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and I asked him what's been the biggest difference in his mind from his rookie season to this year.
I mean, there's been a million things. I mean, having, what Coach McVay's done and all the staff he's brought in and all the coaches we've had this year and some of the players that we brought in and just everything's kind of mixed together well this year. We've hit a little bit of a stride in these last, 7-8 weeks or however long it's been, and feels good right now.
One of the things I'd always talk about with rookie quarterbacks, because expectations are so high when you're drafted high, is you don't draft a rookie or you don't draft a quarterback for his rookie year, you draft him for a decade. So we all know what went on in your rookie year and now how well you're doing now. You mentioned Sean McVay. What are some of the major points he has helped you most with in your transition from rookie year to this year?
I think it's just his ability to teach and his ability to, conceptualize things to not only myself but all the other quarterbacks and the whole team in general. Really, I mean, he's a really, really good teacher for being as young as he is. He understands how to connect and how to teach, and has done a tremendous job of teaching me not only our offense but learning more and more about defenses as time's gone on.
Jared Goff joins us, and we're talking about this Rams offense. 30 points per game this season, tied with the Eagles for most in the NFL. For the Rams, that's a 16.1 points per game improvement from last season, and you may need them all when this Eagles team comes to town. This is a unique situation this Sunday. It'll just be the 8th time in the common draft era that goes back to 1967 where quarterbacks taken 1-2 against each other or in that same draft face off against each other. I know that you're focusing on the team, but how much talk has there been out there already about it's Goff versus Wentz for the first time in your careers?
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be a fun storyline for people. I'm sure it seems to be that way anytime two of the quarterbacks from the same draft play. But again, I think I've said it a million times. I'm focused on their defense, and I know he'll do the same with our defense. I'm sure he's going to come ready to go, and hopefully do the same.
I think we're waiting for you guys to be in 3-point stances against one another on the 50-yard line. That's what everybody thinks is going to happen. Let's talk about that offense. And before we get to the wide receiver position, just Todd Gurley, you obviously saw what he could do last year. But one of the things I know I was talking about and others were as well, and it's been incorporated this year. Last year, for the entire year, he had 21 receptions, or 43 receptions last year. This year, he already has 48, so he's been incorporated so much more with games to go in the passing game. Talk about that transition for him and just how that has helped to open up the offense.
Yeah, he's really become a complete back, if not, the most complete back in the league. And, having him in the backfield changes our whole dynamic of our offense. We can do so much different things with him. And I think the thing that, people maybe don't see on film, and obviously he's so talented with the ball in his hands, but he's so smart in everything we do up front, protectionally, and everything that goes on with that. He's so smart and makes things right a lot of the times when it's not right. And I'm blessed to have him back there with me.
Well, listen, we had Gurley on NFL Live earlier this season, and all he wanted to do really was talk about his Georgia Bulldogs. I'm sure he's insufferable right now, right? That George is in the college football play. How much is he trying to focus on the Eagles, and how much is he actually focusing on the Final Four in college football?
Well, he's got a few weeks till they play now, so they play on the 1st, right? So I think he's planning on going. But yeah, he's been talking about the other day. He showed up in all his Georgia gear. Him and Ogletree, they like to talk about their Bulldogs, and rightfully so. They're doing well.
Yeah, they really are. It's always fun to brag about the college when it's doing well. Another guy, and we're going to let you brag about him because, you look at your wide receiver core, and obviously with guys that you had, Robert Woods and Sammy Watkins coming over, guys that people knew. But here comes this Cooper Kupp kid.
Right.
This nobody knew about him, and all of a sudden here he is leading the team in reception. So we'll just let you boast on him how you will.
Sure. Yeah, I think he's a very, very mature kid and a very mature, especially for a rookie. You see him come in here every day early and get his work done and acts like a pro, goes about his business the right way. And on Sundays it shows up. And, he's a really good player. There's a reason he had so much production in college. I know it was at a lower level, but it's still so much production regardless on a football field. And there's a reason for that. And, we're very lucky to have him this year. He's been a big part of the reason we've been successful up to this point.
Well, everything's working on that offense. And one thing that I think a lot of people took notice of had nothing to do with the actual plays, but the audible calls on those plays. We've heard Elvis, Dusty, Tupac, Obama, Ric Flair. I mean, who comes up with these audible calls, Jared?
Most of the time it's Sean, and then we'll discuss them sometimes. Sometimes they change, and sometimes us quarterbacks will come up with something that works better. Or, it goes around. Sometimes some of the offensive coaches will come up with stuff, but I say most of the time it's Sean.
But obviously in today's game, because defenses can pick up on things, you would have to change it quite often, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course. Sometimes it depends. If you can see, like in that situation on that tape, the sound effects deal, you couldn't see what the play was, so it really didn't matter. But if it shows up on a TV copy, there's times where that needs to happen for sure.
But just the remarkable turnaround for this offense and you since your rookie year has been amazing. Obviously, Sean McVay helps, and just being in the league another year helped. But from your perspective, what was the hardest thing about your rookie year that you've now found so much easier in year two that you were like, man, this was a real struggle for me last year, and now it's sort of coming to me a lot easier?
Man, I don't know if I can put one thing. I think so. One thing you learn is just how to go about your daily business. I don't know if on the field necessarily there's anything I can pinpoint, but just off the field and in the meetings and just daily at the facility, just how to go about your business, and you kind of begin to start a routine, I guess. You start to figure out what your daily routine is, your daily rhythm and your weekly rhythm, and that's one thing I've been able to figure out a little bit better this year.
Talking to Jared Goff, quarterback of the Rams on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. They get set to take on the Eagles, the 1-2 quarterback picked a couple of years ago in the draft. How about the reception out there in L.A. for you, a team that moves, and obviously winning certainly helps, but talk about that transition and now to people out there and how they have, or maybe not all the way yet, or is still in the process of accepting you guys out there.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. I think last year was definitely tough because we were new to the city and there was so much excitement and we didn't really, produce. But this year, it's been different. And we've been much improved, and we've seen, the improvement with the fans as well. It's been awesome to see some new fans and also see the guys that have, come up and, I've been a Rams fan since, the 70s and 80s, and those are the cool people to meet where, they've been a fan for so long, followed the team to St. Louis, and now are still here when the team comes back, and it's really cool to get some of those fans back.
Well, speaking for two people who have been alive in the 70s and 80s, we think those are cool people too.
I actually played against the Rams when they were in L.A. That's how old I am.
Well, we don't want to bore you with that. All right, Jared, listen, big game coming up. Could be home field implications on the line in the NFC. We appreciate you being with us.
Thanks, Jared.
All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, great to talk to Jared Goff yesterday, and we'll make Jared Goff our player with style, which is brought to you by JCPenney. Take the JCPenney Holiday Challenge and find surprising gifts at surprising prices. Get everything on your list for less than you think. JCPenney. We should point out that one of the things that we did talk to about Jared yesterday was the wildfires and how that's affecting it. Obviously, that has changed dramatically. Right. They've had to cancel practice, and we certainly hope that everyone
is all right,
in L.A., not just about the Rams, but everybody out there is safe and you have to give a lot of credit to those firefighters and those first responders in Los Angeles.
You see the pictures. Yeah. I mean, we're all so far away from it. We just see it from the pictures or or the video played of it. It's just unbelievably devastating.
Oh, there was that photo yesterday, I think. I can't remember who put it on Twitter, but it's been retweeted like 50,000 times of people driving in under the, it was still, dark when they're driving in early morning in L.A. It looked like they were driving into the sun.
Yeah.
Those hills just up there caught on fire, and just the juxtaposition of the darkness and all these lights on the highway. Somebody else put out a picture yesterday afternoon. The 405 on a stretch was shut down completely.
Right.
I mean, that looked like a scene from The Walking Dead.
It did.
When was the last time you saw a highway in Los Angeles without a single car on it?
Yeah, especially that highway.
It was, exactly. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it really, really is. So, but we did ask that, but it certainly over the day became dated to not have it there. But it was really good to talk to Jared. Again, everybody talks about the matchup with he and Carson Wentz.
Not
matching up. I've always got a kick out of that. But it's two really good teams matching up. I asked this earlier. Let me quickly ask it of you. Which is the better story or more surprising to you, the Saints or the Rams?
I think I might go the Rams.
I mean, we can go both. I get that.
All right, I think I might go the Rams for this because we saw just how not good Jared Goff was.
Right.
I mean, look, we were all talking about it last year, especially on NFL Live, all these rookie quarterbacks that were starting and playing well ahead of the number one overall pick in the draft in Jared Goff. And I think what the Rams situation has shown us is just how critical coaching is in the NFL.
Right.
Because let's take a look at the two quarterbacks that the Rams started for the majority. And that might have been the only quarterbacks they started last year. I can't remember if they started the third. The two quarterbacks that started last year for the Rams were Case Keenum and Jared Goff. Okay? And both did not play well in any way, shape, or form to sustain some sort of excellence. Well, let's fast forward to 2017. Jared Goff is dealing with Sean McVay as his head coach. And look at the job Case Keenum has done for Mike Zimmer and the Minnesota Vikings. Basically, their third-string quarterback after Sam Bradford, and Teddy Bridgewater. And the things, he's an MVP candidate. The only reason I would say the Rams is because of that, as opposed to the pedigree that we've seen with Sean Payton and Drew Brees in the past. Although it's morphed, because the defense, which has been or had been literally the worst defense for a 3-year stretch in the NFL, almost across the board, has suddenly been rejuvenated. And then you have the running game, which hasn't been there really since they won the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 44. So I can understand that, but I'd have to go with the Rams because of the sheer turnaround from that player at such a young stage in his career.
I think I would agree because, with New Orleans, you always had Drew Brees. So you knew you were going to have an excellent offense, and could they pick up the slack in other places? And they obviously have. But you're right, that everything that went against Goff, and everybody wanting to throw him on the junk pile into where he is now, one, you're right, is a testament to coaching and certainly to Jared and his development of which is something that you wait for to see in a quarterback, who is a rookie, and how they develop. So I'm really looking forward to that matchup. There are a lot of good games going on this weekend.
Well, that's the thing. We'll get into this a lot more, but just so people understand, we obviously have the huge game tonight. Which is
big game.
If the Falcons have any hope of winning the division, they have to win tonight.
Right.
So that's huge. Then you've got the Raiders and Chiefs game, both at 6-6, and the Chargers are also there at 6-6. But the Raiders-Chiefs game is massive. Whether you like it or not, despite the records, Cowboys and Giants will always draw eyeballs. They're going to an Eli Manning coming back. We're going to see his reception at MetLife. Then you've got the Vikings and the Panthers. And a sneaky good game, I think, this weekend is Seahawks at Jacksonville. Really a statement game for Jacksonville. They played well and they've done good things, but you want to say, okay, you're here, Jacksonville. This is a team you need to beat at home. And Seattle has struggled going West Coast to East Coast.
Absolutely right. This is a team at home, make your statement at home, and this is a chance for them to do it.
And so we'd love to get your feedback on that. Hit us up at Golic and Wingo. What do you think the best game of the weekend is? We'll talk about that a little bit later. But coming up, we've got a title fight in the world's most famous arena this weekend, and we'll get Teddy Atlas here next to tell us who's going to win.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive. Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Final half hour of Golic and Wingo. Glad you're with us. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. We're on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, so there's lots of football to get to. We'll get to that a little bit later. But we have a huge matchup Saturday night here on ESPN at Madison Square Garden. Vasily Lomachenko against Guillermo Rigondeauz for the Junior Welterweight Championship. And delighted to have Teddy Atlas with us here on Golic and Wingo, who will be analyzing this matchup all weekend long. Teddy, this is about as good as it gets in terms of the resumes. This is something that's never happened before with these two fighters, right? Both two-time Olympic gold medalists.
Yeah, first time in the history of sport. And you're talking about a sport that's been around for, depending on what calculus you use, 200 years, back to the Greeks. But longer than baseball. And everybody thinks of baseball, of course, as the pastime that's been around the longest. But no, boxing's been swinging for a long time.
So we had the McGregor-Mayweather show, then we had the Triple G Alvarez fight, and now we have another boxing match, another fight. So where we keep talking about it was MMA kind of surpassing boxing, is boxing coming back? What is this going to do, and how can this help, this match?
Yeah, I mean, boxing is always going to be the top because, you always hear this saying, for me, that life's not fair, know, and it's the only place where wherever you came from, whatever your race, your creed, your religion, your background, what you didn't have, forget about what you had, what you didn't have, who your parents were, on one given night, you get in that ring. And if you're tough enough, if you're trained well enough, if you're strong enough, you're determined enough, you can be the best in the world where you came from nothing. You can have your hand raised for that one night.
Right.
And you could be the world champion. And people they're intrigued by that. That's why you see all the movie stars. You see all these guys because they want to see how much can somebody take? How far will somebody go? Yeah. What is the limits? And maybe they think to themselves, how far will I go? Maybe will I get in my boss's face today? Maybe will I say that I deserve something that I never thought that I could say before because I watch what somebody can do in that ring, in that squared circle, or in that chamber of truth. And there's nothing quite like seeing the truth come together when there's two men testing each other. This match is pretty special. I mean, you have two of the best pound-for-pound guys around, and you have two of the best amateurs of all time. And what makes it intriguing for me is that one creates his offense, that's Lomachenko, but he's also good at a lot of things. In baseball, Willie Mays was one of the best, right?
Absolutely.
Well, how many dimensions could he do? How many skills? He had five.
Tool player.
Five-tool player. Okay, here it is. Here's the breakdown for me. Rigondeauz is a 4-tool player. Great defense. Great body puncher. Maybe the best body puncher in the game. Yeah, believe it or not. Great counter puncher. Great power. Here comes Lomachenko. He can do all those things. None of them quite as great, maybe, but all of them. Does them all really well. And he's got one other. He can lead. He can create offense on the front end. Lomachenko can use the jab and make things happen. He can be an artist that goes out there and he just says, oh, I'll make a building here. I'll make a tree here. I'll do whatever I want. He's creative. He's a master. The other guy, Rigondeauz, all the things I said, the only shortcoming why I favor Lomachenko is that Rigondeauz can't create offense. He's a sausage grinder. You come, you put the sausage in, he grinds you up. Yeah. He's a counterpuncher. He's a Floyd Mayweather, but he does it with more power. He needs your reckless offense or your aggression to be able to create a win and a scenario where he can create offense and do the things that he does so well. He needs that. And that's what makes it super interesting because Lomachenko has it on his shoulders to make this fight. He's the one who's going to make it exciting if it's going to be exciting.
Right.
The other one's going to wait for his moment.
Yeah.
So does he get a little reckless? Mm-hmm. Does wanting to show that he can entertain, which he wants to show. I did an interview with him out in California that's going to be showing, I think, today and tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we just saw it, yeah.
And so he said, I want to create. I want to go out there. I want to entertain. Rigondeauz doesn't care about entertaining. He cares about waiting for that one moment. Bang!
Bang.
and he wins the fight.
Can I tell you something? I want to fight now.
I know. I was
just listening to Teddy, I want to get. And now it'll last 7 seconds.
Yeah,
but
that's exactly
just listening
right.
to your passion, listening to you talk about this. Obviously, not just a great analyst for us, but a trainer for so many great fighters all the years. You got me fired up, man. Just listening to that. That was awesome. And to that point, at that one moment, I always go back to Buster Douglas versus Mike Tyson. Right?
There it is.
I think there were no odds for that fight. Literally, the odds maker said there's zero chance that Buster Douglas could have won that fight, and he ends up being heavyweight champion of the world.
Buster Douglas' mom had died not that long before that fight. Buster Douglas always had skills. He always had size. He always had ability. But he didn't have the mental toughness to be heavyweight champ, to make the choices in the ring when the choices came at you hard and fast. And after his mother died, he was able to do that. Nothing could hurt him anymore. Nothing could make him afraid no more. He said, the hell with this, the hell with Tyson.
Right.
My mother died. I'm going to go out there and for one night, I'm going to be what I described earlier. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be the best in the world. I'm not going to be afraid of a guy named Mike Tyson. And he was able to pull off.
I'm getting chills, man.
Yeah, how about it?
This is going to be great having you analyze this fights. If it's going to be like this, is phenomenal.
ESPN boxing analyst Teddy Atlas joining us on the show. Pennzoil Performance Line. Rigondeauz is jumping 2 weight classes for this right now. He hasn't lost a fight at pro or amateur since 2003, but he's the underdog in this. Is the reason because he's the counter guy or because he's going up a couple of weight classes? Why would he be the underdog?
People think maybe too small, too old. He's 37, right. The other guy's 29.
29, yeah.
Maybe too old, maybe too small, and maybe too inactive. He hasn't been active. Lomachenko's been more active. And again, doesn't create the offense on the front end. Depends on it on the back end. He's that sausage grinder. So a lot of people think, well, if it's a decision, then the guy who can create, uses jab and create on the front end, he's probably, you don't have to be a genius here. You don't have to be Angelo Dundee. You don't even have to be Teddy Atlas. Not that I'm anything, but to understand that that guy who can create on the front end will probably be winning in the fight.
The aggressor.
Till that moment might come. Lomachenko doesn't have the power of Rigondeauz. Bang, that power. Punches are born, they're not made. And he was born to punch. But he's a guy, he's like being in a lake with piranha. He just takes pieces of you, so there's nothing left to be there.
Death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Just takes pieces of you. Next thing you know, you say, oh, my God, I'm a skeleton. I mean, like there's nothing left. The other guy, you're in there, it's like being in the ocean, in the deep blue. Remember that movie that they made that everybody was Jaws?
Yes.
And all of a sudden it's dark, it's quiet. Nothing's going on. Bang! All of a sudden he comes out of the ocean and he just cuts you in half.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the fight. You got the shark, you got the piranha. Will the shark come out of that deep blue and get there? Or will the piranha just peck away all night long?
By the way, next time you're coming in, we're having you at 6 a.m. to get us woke up and
ready
to roll. Because
Teddy's
like a triple shot of espresso here.
Yeah.
This is great stuff. So again, that's the fight Saturday night, and you'll be analyzing that fight for us on ESPN on all our platforms. But I want to ask you about Oscar De La Hoya. Sure. He recently said he's thinking of coming out of retirement to fight Conor McGregor. We saw the big payday with McGregor and Mayweather this summer. Do you believe McGregor would box again? I mean, he thinks he could beat Mayweather if he fought him a second time.
Hey, if somebody's willing to write another $100 million check, I would say, let me think for a second. Yeah. I think
I can do anything in the world.
Let me think. Yeah, hit box again. I mean, if someone's going to pay him that, but it can't be in there with these young lions.
Right.
It can't be with Spence. It can't be with Thurman. It can't be with Porter. It can't be with Danny Garcia. I mean, it can't be with these monsters that would eat him up. They would eat Conor because they go right after him at the beginning of the bell, not like Floyd waiting a while because his temperament was to wait. They would go and get him, and the fire would come, and it would burn him up right away. So he's smart. He doesn't have to do it now. But if you're willing to write a check like that, hey, he might look at a De La Hoya as a shot guy. A guy, who put a lot of weight on, a guy who's been inactive, just sitting back. He's not a fighter anymore.
Would there be money in this? Or would people, and certainly not like the Mayweather fight because that was kind of spent. So,
but, what was that? Barnum and Bailey said there's a sucker born every day.
Correct.
And look, I'm not calling you people out there suckers. I'm just saying. But there's a few people that are coming out and they'll be intrigued. They'll say, hey, he did okay with Mayweather. I think the best thing is for someone to give Oscar a hug.
Yeah.
Just give him a hug because Really, he don't need to be doing this no more.
It's funny you say that because I was like, look, I got the interest in the
Mayweather
McGregor fight, but you're trying to tell me that a guy who's not a professional boxer is going to beat a guy who, as a professional boxer, who's never lost to another professional boxer? Can't see it.
Yeah.
And it didn't turn out that way. All right, so you're going to be breaking down this junior welterweight fight for us all weekend long between Lomachenko and Rigondeauz. Teddy, we appreciate you coming by. I'm fired up for the rest of the show.
Yeah,
we need to get
stuff.
you the 6 o'clock hour next time, all right?
Really good.
The great Teddy Atlas.
Thanks, Teddy.
With us here on Golic and Wingo. A little free bird with Leonard Skinner there.
I always remember playing this during double sessions in high school.
Yeah.
In between, it's high school. So you're taking your sweaty pads off and you're laying them out in the sun so they dry. And then they dry and they stink when they're drying, and you're drinking a jug of water and a couple of sandwiches you made at home, and we're cranking Freebird, man, just kind of hanging out.
Were these bologna sandwiches you were eating?
Oh, I'm sure they probably were, yeah.
Now, here's the problem. Freebird, by the way, is like a 9-minute song.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you get the live version, and it's 12 minutes.
Absolutely.
So that's the worst song if you have it on your iPod and you say, I'll just continue the workout one more song.
Yeah.
Then
and that comes on,
you're like,
oh, God, no.
What have I talked myself into? How much longer can I keep this going? By the way, is Leonard Skinner overrated in your opinion?
No.
Good Southern rock.
Oh,
Charlie
I love
Daniels
it.
Band. Marshall Tucker Band. That's
Charlie
good stuff.
Devil Went Down to George was one of my all-time favorites, and I love when other bands will have that fiddle player and they'll play it, they'll cover it. It's fantastic.
Underrated Charlie Daniels hit In America came out in 1980.
Yes.
Very, very
call.
good. Very, very good tune. So as we continue to go back decades, and most people have no idea what the hell we're talking about, we're glad you're with us on Golic and Wingo.
This is
on
when
ESPN
we need
Radio at ESPN2.
So we need Mike Jr. the most.
Everybody in the control room is like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
What? We have no idea what you're saying,
amazing.
except for Cliff. Because Cliff
is playing it.
Cliff
it's good
is the
music.
glue.
Listen, there's good music in all eras.
Cliff
come on.
is the glue. And he binds it all together.
There you go.
All right, so we got a lot of stuff going on this weekend in the NFL. Start with the Saints-Falcons tonight.
Yeah.
Look, Falcons have to win. The question is, how can they win against New Orleans? Coming off a pretty impressive win in Carolina, or against Carolina last Sunday.
Well, listen, you need that offense to be the offense of last year between Julio Jones and Sanu. Freeman, had missed some time, but you love the two-headed monster with Freeman and Coleman. That offensive line, remember last year we got to the Super Bowl, and they were the line that started the same group all 16 games. They had the consistency, and it didn't start out well for them this year. Some thought it was Sarkisian that they just weren't clicking right now. But, it's a high-powered offense. They need to be a high-powered offense. The defense is somewhat of an undersized, fast. It's a defense predicated on speed. And when you're a little undersized and predicated on speed, you're much better playing from ahead. Because then you can just kind of tee off and do your thing. When another team's trying to 6-minute you or 4-minute you or 2-minute you to death by controlling the ball and pounding it, you can struggle a little more. So this is a team built kind of that way to play from ahead. So that's the way they need to play. But you're doing that against a tough team, a team in New Orleans that can score at a quick rate as well and has a running game to also play a 4-minute offense if they need to control the ball, and the defense playing better. So it's an excellent matchup. The New Orleans Saints have been one of the great stories this year, no doubt about it. But all you want as a player is to be able to control it on the field and not have to look at the scoreboard and hope for help. Yeah. Atlanta in the next 3 weeks can control it. They play New Orleans twice. It's right there for them.
Okay, so let's go to the other games coming up on Sunday. And as we said, there's a bunch of them. What game are you most interested in? 6-6 Raiders at 6-6 Kansas City. I'm going to throw the Cowboys and Giants out there just because of eyeballs with the Eli Manning thing and everyone. Look,
right.
You want ratings? Put the Cowboys on. You'll have the highest ratings of every week in the NFL. Vikings at Panthers. Or Seahawks at Jaguars?
There's two I'm looking forward to. Seahawks at Jacksonville, of what Jacksonville can do at home with a team that struggles traveling the way Seattle's traveling. And now listen, the Seattle's hurt in the secondary with Chancellor and Sherman, but Jacksonville is not a throwing team.
That's not how they want to win.
Blake Bortles is not. They're not saying, he's going to take advantage. They still want to run the ball and play great defense. That game, and then Philly at the Rams. The Rams, as I said, the other great story.
That one, Philly
the other great story, like the New Orleans Saints, is what the Rams have done. Redone some of their offensive line, got Gurley even more involved in the passing game, and Goff has taken just an incredible step forward, as Carson Wentz has as well. So I really like this matchup. Again, I'm not looking at quarterback against quarterback. I'm looking at team against team, two teams that have put themselves in great position.
Yeah, the Eagles game is interesting because, let's be honest, it had been just an unfettered joyride for the Eagles, a 9-game winning streak until they go up to Seattle and lose a tough one where the running game wasn't cranking, but Carson Wentz still made unbelievable throws in that contest. And so they got a little slap in the face, something that hadn't happened to them since week 2 when they lost in Kansas City. And now they got to go play the Rams in L.A. And suddenly, we had all the stats. Every time they've been 10-1, they've made it to either the NFL championship game or the Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. But now if you lose back-to-back weeks to Seattle and then the Rams, your margin of error for home field advantage is gone because now the Rams will have the tiebreaker over you should that go that way. So I think this is a really, really important game for the Eagles to sort of get back to that identity they've had for most of this season.
I agree. And another good matchup I'm looking forward to is Minnesota going to Carolina. Yeah. Carolina's a game back of New Orleans, sitting there at 8-4, and they're one of the 2 4-loss teams that are sitting in the wild card spot right now. They and Seattle. And Minnesota is battling Philly for the best record in the NFC to have everything run through Minnesota for the Super Bowl. 2 really good defenses. Minnesota's number 2. Carolina's number 6. Strong defenses. So I really like that matchup as well.
Last thing I'll say about the Seahawks and Jags, and we'll get into a lot of this on Friday.
Yep.
But, the Seahawks have made it by Russell Wilson scrambling for his life and making plays because the offensive line of Seattle has not been great. You're going up against front 7 for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Sackers in the league.
I don't think you can count on Russell Wilson to make all those kind of plays on the road in an early game against Saxonville, which is what they're calling themselves now.
That's a great point. They do a nice job of getting to the quarter with multiple players, not just one they're relying on, multiple players.
And Calais Campbell, in his first year there, has already set the franchise record for most sacks in a single season. Hey, here's what we got coming up tomorrow. We'll have Jalen Rose to talk NBA, plus Scott Frost.
There you go.
We'll talk about leaving UCF and the way he did it as opposed to other schools and then heading home. That's all ahead on the Friday edition of Golic and Wingo. For everybody that's been with us today, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we will see you tomorrow.
Goodbye.